If you're getting into hockey for the first time, I want to tell you about the NHL Trade Deadline. This Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern is the NHL Trade Deadline. The trade deadline is one of the biggest days on the NHL calendar every year. It is the last day in which a team can trade for a player and have them play on their roster in the playoffs. Most importantly, the trade deadline forces teams to decide, are we good enough to contend this year, or should we try again next season? This type of year, there are a couple of types of trades you see teams make. If you're a team that's having a bad season and is out of the playoff race, you want to try to trade some of your players to make your team better in the future. So you're looking at older players who won't necessarily be part of your team's future, or players that are on expiring contracts. If someone's contract is expiring, they're going to be a free agent at the end of the season, which means that they can sign with any team. If you don't plan on re-signing them or don't think you can afford to re-sign them, then you're better off trading them away and getting something back for them and having them play in the playoffs for a different team. In these trades, you're mostly going to get back prospects and draft picks. Prospects are players that are in a team's organization already, often in the minor leagues, who haven't yet broken into the NHL. Now, these players may take a long time to get to the NHL, and some of them may never get there. But the hope is that you can develop these young players, and one day they will be ready to play in the NHL, and they'll be key contributors to your team when it's time to contend. The other thing you trade for is draft picks. The NHL has a draft at the end of every season where teams pick the young players that are going to join their organization for the future. The NHL has a 7-round draft, but the first 2 rounds of the draft are where you'd expect to reliably find players who are NHL caliber. If your team is in playoff position, then the trade deadline is where you look at your team and see where you have needs. You're willing to trade a young player or a future draft pick if it could help your team win a championship this season. When you have a chance to win the cup, teams generally go all out to try to make it happen. Another type of trade people talk about this time of year is a hockey trade. Now, these are all technically hockey trades, but what people mean when they say hockey trade is a trade that is really about trading a good player on your team for a good player on another team. These trades are more about roster composition and team chemistry than they are about trying to get better in the future. For instance, if your team has a lot of good wingers, maybe you trade one of your wingers for a defenseman. If you have a lot of defensemen, maybe you trade a defenseman for a goalie, and so forth. Leading up to the trade deadline, there's always a bunch of rumors and a bunch of excitement. Sometimes big trades happen, sometimes nothing interesting happens. Last year, the Boston Bruins ended up trading team captain Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers right at the end of the trade deadline. Marchand became a key contributor to the Panthers, and it's unclear if they would have won the cup last year without him. And this was a huge trade that no one saw coming. There might be more big trades like that this year, there might not. It's hard to tell before the trade deadline actually happens. Once the trade deadline passes, it means we're fully locked in to the push for the playoffs. Please follow along for more important hockey information.